What's going on, people, and welcome back to another player versus player. Today we've got Roberto Carlos versus Ashley Cole. Loved both of these players growing up. They got their similarities, but they got their differences as well. Roberto Carlos stands out in my head early on into my football journey. Ashley Cole later on, but both of them terrific players. And I'm intrigued to see how this one's going to end up. Sometimes I have a little idea of who's going to win, and this one I think is going to be close either way. So first up, we got goals. Roberto Carlos had 69, and now for a left back at that point in time is no mean feat getting to them numbers, because nowadays you probably expect it a bit more because of how the game's played and the usage of the wing backs and how football is. But at the time, I feel like Roberto Carlos was like ahead of the game in terms of years of players similar to him and what he was doing. So 69 goals for Roberto Carlos, and Ashley Cole finished with 19. So Roberto Carlos gets it on goals pretty convincingly. Next up, we got crossing. I would give it to Roberto Carlos. I feel like he was more natural at it. He had a bit more natural technique than Ashley did. But Cole still put a good ball in at times. Maybe not as much, but he could. But I'm going to go with Roberto Carlos for the crossing. Tackling, this one actually I would give to Ashley Cole. I don't feel like Roberto Carlos' major strength was tackling. I mean, he could do it and do it good, but I think Ashley Cole, when you think of him at his best on his defensive side of things, 1v1s and tackling, it was very rare that an attacker got the better of him. So this one for me is pretty easy. Cole for tackling. 1v1s, like I just said, I don't remember Roberto Carlos in this sense more than I do Ashley Cole. The 1v1s against players like Cristiano Ronaldo at the time, players like Robin, and like he shut down pretty much anyone he came up against, Ashley Cole. And I don't feel like Roberto Carlos did that on the defensive side of things. So I would give the 1v1s to Ashley Cole. Pace is an interesting one because I feel like Roberto Carlos wasn't the quickest, but he wasn't the slowest. And I feel like he did have a bit of pace about him. Ashley had always been pretty quick. He slowed down later on in his career like most people do. Off the top of my head, I actually feel like Ashley was quicker than Roberto Carlos. So I'm going to go with Ashley Cole for pace. Technique, I'd have to give this one to Roberto Carlos. When you think of his free kicks, his first touch, there weren't many doing what he was doing, especially in his position. So technique's an easy one, Roberto Carlos. Strength, I don't feel like Ashley was super strong, but he was clever in his body positioning. And don't get me wrong, he was probably deceptively strong for his size, but I feel like Roberto Carlos, you picture him, he was small, but he was bulky. He looked like a weightlifter. His legs, the size of his thighs were ridiculous. Even his calves. He was short, but he was like a rhino. So strength for me, Roberto Carlos. Agility, I actually don't feel like Roberto Carlos was that agile. He had a little bit of pace. He was strong, and he had very good technique and a thunderous shot. But in terms of agility with like dribbling, I don't actually feel like he was that good at it. Certainly not the worst I've seen, but I don't remember him and think agility. Ashley, again, wasn't his main strength, but I feel like he was quicker in short spaces, tighter areas. It just looked a bit more free-flowing with him. So I'm going to go with Cole for agility. Leadership, I don't really feel like Ashley was a natural leader. I think he could do it if forced to, but he was a vital part of his teams that he's been in over his years, and he definitely growed in that experienced role and for younger players to get advice and stuff. I don't think either of these stand out as captains to me. I feel like Roberto Carlos did captain at times. I don't remember Cole captaining, but I could be wrong. Very tough. I'd probably edge it to Roberto Carlos, but I don't think like either of these really stand out as leaders. Presence on the pitch, it's a tough one because I feel like Ashley is underrated in this sense, but also if you have real ball knowledge, a lot of people do recognise that. Imagine being an attacker on the opposing side, knowing that he's going to be marking you. I feel like people would have feared him because of how good he was. But when I think of Roberto Carlos, I have the same sort of feelings that I did for the original Ronaldo and that star quality, and one of the earliest footballers I remember still to this day, and the things like the banana free kick he did. And so for presence, I think they both had it, but I think Carlos had it more. Teamwork, Ashley was vital to Arsenal, did good at Chelsea as well. England should have done more, but a lot of them players should have for England at the time. Carlos, what he achieved with Madrid, ridiculous. Brazil at times, probably should have done a bit more at Brazil, but still won a little bit. Very tough. I don't think there's a ton between it, but I'm going to go with Carlos for teamwork. Trophies then, Cole won his fair few, and this is pretty impressive. Cole ended up with 11, and for a defender that's brilliant, but it's not even close. Roberto Carlos ended up with 37. It's a whitewash with trophies, Roberto Carlos. And then lastly, we've got career. Ashley moved about a little bit more. He was obviously at Roma, he went to the MLS for a bit, Chelsea, Arsenal obviously, whereas Roberto played for Madrid, that Makaturin, whatever they're called, that Russian team at the time. They're the only two that I remember him playing for. I know he would have played for like youth teams and stuff, but so he didn't move about as much, Carlos, but he won more trophies. And I think that you have to give career to Carlos, even though he didn't experience as many countries and things and sort of put himself out there a bit more, like take more risks. He didn't necessarily have to because of the career he ended up having with the trophies he won. So career, I'm going to give to Roberto Carlos. So I've counted it up, and it's actually not as close as I thought it would be. Roberto Carlos finished with 9, and Ashley Cole finished with 4. I thought there'd be 2 or 1 in it, and it's quite clear that Roberto Carlos won it convincingly. So, yeah, Ashley Cole, one of the best ever defenders and left backs in the world. That's why I wanted to do the matchup, but he didn't even get close. He put up a little bit of a fight, but Roberto Carlos takes it 9-4. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'll see you soon in a bit.